Hey everybody, today I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks on how to shoot some fireworks on location here. The fireworks show is gonna start in like half an hour. So the first important thing is that you wanna shoot in manual. You wanna have control over the ISO, the shutter speed, the exposure, f-stop. So you really wanna be shooting in manual mode. Now getting to the shutter speed, because you probably wanna have the whole pattern of the firework, perhaps even the trajectory and everything, you wanna shoot like anywhere from 2 to 5 seconds. It really depends. Again, you can play around with it. These are all just kind of basic levels to start with, but about 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, you're probably gonna get the best results in my experience. So because we're using a long exposure, you're of course gonna need a tripod. Really, without a tripod, you're not gonna get any good pictures. Then going to f-stop, now because it's gonna be very hard to have the proper focus exactly, you don't wanna shoot super wide open. Instead, around f5.6, f8, perhaps even f11 should work just fine. Again, you really have to try it out, see what properly exposes your picture. And because you're not gonna have any way of autofocusing, you know, if the fireworks are up there, it's way too quick. Even if you have a great focusing system, it's probably not gonna work all that well. So you wanna shoot in manual focus, and the great thing is, if you're shooting fireworks, it's probably gonna be in a city or somewhere not super dark. So you wanna pre-focus with your focal length on like a distant street light, and that should usually do the job. Again, it's not perfect, but that's why you wanna shoot at like f5.6 or f8. Now going to the ISO, a lot of people will think that you have to have a super high ISO because look at that, it's very dark. But the fireworks themselves are actually quite bright. You're gonna have a long exposure, so you probably wanna shoot at a very low ISO of maybe 100, 200, 400 maybe. Yeah, don't go too high. You're also gonna get much better quality at the end if you're shooting at a low ISO. And you really don't need to push it up if you expose for a few seconds. And actually a thing that I forgot, because you're gonna shoot at a relatively long shutter speed, you wanna have your camera set to a 2-second shutter delay. So if you press down the shutter, it will wait 2 seconds until it actually takes the exposure, and that way you're not gonna get any shake, because believe me, if you just press your shutter at a long exposure, it will wobble a little bit even on a tripod. And of course you can also use the shutter release or like a smartphone app depending, and that's gonna improve your workflow by a lot, just give you faster reaction times, but at least you wanna have some kind of shutter delay or a shutter remote. Then what focal length should you shoot at? Now you probably don't wanna have like super telephoto, because then it's first of all gonna be very hard to frame, and even if you're gonna frame it properly, it's very common that you just cut off some of the fireworks, and that's probably not what you want. So going for like a medium wide angle usually works pretty well. So like 24, 30 millimeters, maybe 20 millimeters, somewhere in that range. You also don't want to go super wide because then the fireworks going to be very small and you're just going to have a ton of stuff in your picture. So around 20, 30 millimeters full frame equivalent should be just fine. Now, speaking of focal lengths, you can also use a very wide one actually if you want to incorporate people. And that's the next thing I wanted to talk about, is just incorporating other stuff and people and houses in your shots, because usually these fireworks are going to be in, you know, a city, so you're going to have like bridges and houses and street lights and people maybe looking at the fireworks. So if you're actually going to incorporate that and try out all sorts of different focal lengths and different, you know, perspectives and stuff, you're going to get much more different pictures at the end rather than just having, you know, 100 pictures of close-up fireworks. Now these were kind of the most important things, but another thing is of course arrive early. Now I did a terrible job here. I arrived like half an hour before the actual fireworks are going to start. They're going to start in like 5 minutes or so. If there's going to be a fireworks, especially a big one, you're going to have a lot of people. So the earlier you're going to arrive, the better spot you're going to get. Get some ear protection, like some earplugs are great, or even if it's just like some paper for your ears, because it can be painfully loud if there's going to be a big firework in a city, especially with like the walls reflecting and stuff. And other than that, I guess, you know, leave your golden watch as your favorite McDonald's chain or whatever. You probably also want to leave that at home. And because I'm making this video just on the spot here, if you have anything that I forgot or any special trick that I didn't know about, then please leave it in the comments down below. Other than that, hopefully you found this helpful. Give it a like or a dislike so people can actually see if it's any good or not. Have a wonderful day shooting, or rather just night, and get some awesome pictures. Take care, guys.